Hi, this is Robbie with Tickner Photography. I've been doing a fair amount of macro lately, and I'm always on the lookout to try and figure out how to get greater magnification with my gear. And I saw some people were talking about something called a macro filter. It's basically like glasses for your lens. It magnifies stuff in front of it. So I saw on Amazon they're really cheap, or at least some of them are. I bought a set of 4 of these with varying magnifications on Amazon for about $8. I'll put a link in the description below. It's really cheap. So just got them in the mail a few minutes ago, and I thought I would demonstrate how they work. I'm going to put them on my 50mm lens because most people have a 50mm, so it'll be a good example, maybe a beginner that doesn't have a macro lens, 50mm 1.4, not a macro. So a beginner that might have a 50mm and they want to try and start doing some macro work, but they don't want to shell out enough for a macro lens, and macro extension tubes might not get them where they want to go, so this is a very cheap alternative. So let's start playing with this. I have a little still life bug spider set up here, and I'm going to take a shot with the 50mm 1.4 just by itself, naked, and then we'll use each one of these filters. There's a 1x, 2x, 4x, and 10x magnification filter. I'm not exactly sure how they will look, but we'll give it a shot. Given their price, there's probably some distortion, I'm guessing like chromatic aberrations depending where you'll use it, and the coating on the filter is probably nowhere near as good as on your lens itself, so you'll probably get potential lens flares and whatnot. But if you're using it in a studio or you're going after macro stuff or just a beginner, I mean, this should work fine. So when you open this box, you'll get the 4 filters. I got these 4 filters in 55mm threading, and I did that because that matches my 50mm 1.4 and also my 100mm macro, so I can just screw them right onto the front without having to use an adapter, which is kind of cool. So if you're getting one of these, try to match it to your lens. It'll make life easier. Also comes in this little carrying case. It's cool, glad it came that way. And they're wrapped in plastic. The 10X is really thick. The other ones aren't really that thick at all. So let's put these on and see what they do. First up, we're going to use the 50mm with no filter on it at all, and you'll be able to see what this looks like. I'm going to set it to manual focus and set it to the closest focus the lens will possibly do, and then take a shot, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. Okay, so the 50mm 1.4 is at its minimum focus distance, which according to its focus ring says about 1.5 feet. And our subject is right smack in the middle and in focus. We're at f13 1/250th of a second, ISO 100. So take the shot. And you can see our subject is tiny in the middle. This isn't even close to macro. So this will be a good experiment. So first up, we'll put on the 1x macro filter, and we'll see what that changes. Alright, so we have our 1x filter on there. Let's take the shot. And sure enough, it got quite a bit bigger. What you'll notice I had to do when I put the filter on was move the camera physically closer to the subject. So what a side effect of this will cause the depth of field to get shallower because we're getting physically closer. Another interesting thing that I'm seeing here is the light has not changed. It didn't get any darker when I added this filter on there, which is actually really cool, because if you add macro extension tubes in between your lens and the camera, that, depending on the size of the extension tube, will decrease the light quite dramatically going to your camera. So you have to increase your light sources by 1 to 2, sometimes 3 stops, depending. So that's something to keep in mind. This apparently doesn't have that restriction, or at least I haven't seen it yet. So that's pretty cool. So now let's go for 2x. Alright, let's take this shot. And we're getting closer for sure. So this is working actually quite well. An interesting thing to note, focus is getting a little bit difficult, and I believe it's because when you're using live view or looking through the lens viewfinder, typically the lens will open up to its widest aperture, so this is opening up to 1.4 1.4 to help you focus and just to let enough light in so you can see what's going on. But maybe this filter is not quite good at 1.4, but it seems like at f13 it's producing a nice image. So focus will be slightly more difficult. Alright, let's step it up. We'll go 4x. Alright, there is 4x. And now let's put the Big Daddy on and we'll go 10x and see what that looks like. Yeah, look at how thick this filter is. And there we go. There's 10x magnification. That's pretty much a macro shot. That's not bad for a $8 filter on my 50mm lens. That's pretty cool, I like that. I'm a little bit curious what that'll look like when I put 10x magnification in front of my 100mm macro in front of macro extension tubes. Then hopefully the bug's head will fill up the entire frame without cropping. This should open up a lot of new possibilities for me. So it seems like if you're just starting out or you want to try and figure out some way to get extra magnification on your macro shots, these macro filters are definitely a viable option to check out. These were the cheapest ones that I could find, and I'm sure there are much higher quality versions available. So you might want to check those out, or start with these, see if you like them, and then move up to better ones if for some reason these don't meet your needs. So I will continue playing with these in my macro shots over the next few weeks, and if I discover any glaring flaws or any problems, I'll post another video describing it. But otherwise, well, I'm pretty happy for my $10 investment. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Otherwise, like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.